So my name is Daniel Whalen. I'm 21 years old, and through the past few years, I've completely done a 180 with my life. I have completely changed courses from the timeline and from the trajectory I was headed down. See, I used to be a completely different person than I am now, and it is solely through effort and manually shaping my life that got me here. There was no luck. There was no genetics. If you would have saw me back in, let's say, early 2021 or before that, you would have chalked me up to be another loser. Another dude who works some little job, who just goes with the flow, who lives for the weekends. It's and everything that goes along with that. I would have become that man, but I never wanted to be that man. I always wanted exceptional. I always wanted to be the best man, but I never believed in my ability to get there. I never believed I could shape it. I always believed I was born wrong. I was born to be a loser. I was born to be somebody that doesn't really have any friends, doesn't really get the girls he wants, doesn't make the amount of money he wants, is always out of shape. I just thought I was born to be this person. And through the past 4 years, a little less than 4 years, coming up on 4 years, I have completely changed courses to where now I live a life that I didn't even believe I would be able to live. I am in the best shape of my life. I started a business called Better Lifestyle 365 where I have transformed dozens of people's physiques. They've all been extremely thankful for what I've created. They've loved the transformation. It's completely transformed lives. I built a social media and showed up every single day and built a following of over 200,000 followers across all platforms. I just got an apartment and I'm moving out of my parents' house. It's a super nice apartment. You guys will see it there. And I'm just getting started. I truly feel like this is just the brink of a major success journey. And I'm so excited to embark on it myself and take you guys along with me to just see what I'm really made of. But to give you context of where I started, let's take it back to, let's say, before 2021. Let's say before June 2021. Let's say, because my 21st birthday was a few weeks ago. May 5th, 2025 was my 21st birthday. So let's take it back to my 17th birthday, May 5th, 2021. So during this time and before my self-improvement journey, because I would say my self-improvement journey started in about late May to June of 2021. So this was like a little bit before I started making actual progress and started putting in consistent effort. Before my self-improvement journey, I feel like I never even had consciousness. You know, you hear people say, oh, when you're 5 years old, you gain consciousness. Before that, you don't even remember anything. I feel like I gained consciousness when I was 17 years old. Because I never, like I was saying, I never believed I had any capability to change my life the way I wanted to change it. I always just hoped that my life would unfold in the way I wanted it to, and it never really happened, because good things don't happen on accident. Exceptional things don't happen on accident, for that matter. And I always felt like I was reacting to the world, where I wasn't being myself. I was solely just doing what I thought other people wanted me to do. I was behaving the way other people wanted me to behave. I was trying to gain others' approval, and it was a miserable experience. And I was always angry at the world, because I always had this vision and this dream of being this guy, being like the ideal man that every kid, every little boy grows up and wants to become. He's masculine, he's strong, he's in great shape, he's tall, he gets the beautiful women, he's financially independent, he has this dream life. I always wanted to be that man, but I never believed I would get there. I always believed I was just genetically, I was born wrong. Or if I saw people that had the life I want, I thought they were just lucky. And the self-improvement journey itself really taught me that I have the power to change. I am empowered. It is solely my fault whether I change or whether I stay the same. I have to take full accountability for where I am, and that's the only way I'm going to empower myself to change. But the fact that self-improvement taught me that I had the power to change my life the way I wanted it to is what allowed me to change my life the way I wanted it to. Because before my self-improvement journey, I was going with the flow. I was indulging in short-term gratification. Like I was saying, the reason I feel like I never gained consciousness until I started my self-improvement journey was because I was waking up every morning, indulging and looking for short-term gratification. I was looking for video games. I would wake up and I would turn on my Xbox and just sit there, and then I'd go downstairs and I'd grab some food. Whatever I felt like eating, it was just for taste. I didn't care about nutrition. And then I'd go back upstairs and I'd play my video games and I'd try to level up in the game. I would say, oh, I'm grinding in the video game. And my whole life was short-term gratification. Despite me always wanting to be this masculine, physically capable, intelligent, highly regarded man. And what happened was that I started getting real angry consistently, where I would go into society wanting to be a man of high status, wanting to be this dream version of myself. And then when society didn't treat me the way I wanted to be treated, I would get angry. And I thought, in the moment, I thought I was angry at the world, but in hindsight, I was really angry at myself, because I recognized the whole entire time I knew self-development and self-improvement was the key to get me the respect, to get me the status, to get me the results and the dream life I wanted. And I was running from it because I knew it would be hard. I knew self-development would be a challenging journey because there's such thing as growing pains. And the only way to grow as a man, the only way to develop habits, to develop skill sets, to just change in general, is through removing yourself from what you deem to be comfortable. Because if you don't change, nothing will change. If you don't change your actions, the results that you see every single day will never change. And that's what used to get me angry. It wasn't the fact that it would piss me off when people would disrespect me or not respect me on the level I wanted to be respected. It was the fact that when I would go home, instead of using that pain as fuel into self-development, I would numb the pain through playing video games or eating junk, but what I mean by junk is like Sour Patch Kids, Swedish Fish, Skittles, pizza, buffalo chicken, mac and cheese, my favorite foods. I would numb the pain with these vices, these short-term hits of gratification, and then I'd have to wake up the next day and repeat the cycle. And that's what really made me angry. That's what really pissed me off. So, and another thing I remember, a specific story I remember, is back when I was in high school, because, 17, I'm in high school, I used to have no real close friends. I really didn't have anybody inviting me to their lunch table, so every single time the lunch bell would go off, I would get anxious and my heart would start beating really fast because I knew I didn't have anyone to sit with, and the last thing I wanted to do was sit at a table by myself where the girls, where all the athletes would look at me like I'm a complete loser. That's the last thing I wanted. So what I would do is either go to the bathroom or the library, because those were open and I could just sit in there for the lunch period. Or what I do probably more often than that is I would skip eating lunch so I could be the first to the table where the kids who I kind of got grouped up with frequently or I had classes with, where they usually sat. So I would go to their table where they usually sat and sit down first, so they would just go there and sit with me. And that was just to avoid sitting by myself. I didn't know them. I never even spoke the whole lunch period. I just kind of sat there because I didn't want to be alone. Or I didn't want to look like I was alone. But despite sitting there with a group of people, I was alone. I felt alone and I felt humiliated. And eventually, in June of 2021, enough was enough. Enough was enough. Because I remember this one instance where I was sitting with these kids, and keep in mind, it wasn't like I was just alone and like nobody really even like looked at me. It was like they would bully me and they would disrespect me. I remember one time I was sitting with these kids who, they didn't ask me to sit with them, but like I said, I sat with them, and then they sat down at the table because that was their normal table, and they were like talking, they were making some joke about like if we were slaves, who would be worth the most, essentially, like who is like the most physically, I don't know, compelling person, like who has the most physical capabilities. And they went around the table and they're like laughing and making jokes, and then one of them points at me and is like, this guy's worth $15. And while that was a joke, and while it got some giggles from the people around them, I can't describe how deep that cut, because I went home and I sat in my room. I sat on the bus ride home, and then I sat in my room, and then the next day I thought about it, and then the day after that I thought about it, and I thought, I was so angry. I kept picturing myself going into school and beating the crap out of this kid. Like, this little joke that he made cut so deep inside of me, but it was just such an example of how insecure I was as a man. And that anger that I felt, and I thought I wanted to beat him up. I would fantasize about me calling him out in front of everyone, and then going to punch him in the face and tackling him, and on the floor and punching his face in. And I used to think about this. And it's funny because at the time I thought I was actually angry at him, but I wasn't. I was angry at myself. The person I wanted to punch was myself. Because despite how angry I felt, I knew I would just go home and delay and enjoy the short-term gratification, not delay gratification. I didn't even understand that concept. And so in June of 2021, basically enough was enough. And I can't stress this enough, there wasn't some light bulb moment or one day that I flipped the switch, because I hate when people say that, because 99% of the time, that's not true. And I want to relate as much as I can to the former version of myself, who truly, with 100% of his body, who wholeheartedly believed he was born different from the successful people. He was born different from the people he looked up to. So that's why when I explain how I went from this loser with no direction, feeling desperate for love, desperate for friends, and then completely doing a 180, getting in amazing shape, completely changing his habits, inspiring others, transforming others' habits and other people's physiques and other people's lives, and building a business and being consistent and working out every single day and dieting. It's just like, how does that switch happen? And you hear some people who give some lazy little shortcut. Oh, I just wanted it bad enough. Or, oh, I just locked in. It's like, that's so unhelpful. What actually happened between this period of like late May of 2021 to maybe late September 2021 was just a accumulation of trying, of days, of wins stacked up. So it wasn't one day that I woke up and rebranded myself into the man I am now. That's the farthest thing from the truth. That is the farthest thing. But I started putting in a bit of research into how the human body actually functions, how weight loss actually happens, and through eating less food and playing some basketball and doing some cardio, I lost a bit of weight. And I remember I was at my friend's house this one time after we played basketball, because like I said, I had no friends where I lived, but that was also because I was a new kid going into high school. I was a freshman and I was a new kid. I just moved to this town. So before that, I still had some friends from back home, and those were the friends I used to play video games with after school. When I'd have these like horrible days in school, I would go back, play video games with my friends from my hometown. And So I would say once a week or once every 2 weeks. It was definitely more frequent when whatchamacallit, when it was summer vacation. I would probably go up like once a week, but I would drive an hour, or I'd have my parents drive me an hour to my hometown, and I'd stay at one of my friend's house for like 4 or 5 days or so. And I remember I was at his house and we were playing a bunch of basketball, and we were when you're playing basketball all day, you're not really worried about eating or whatnot. It's not like I'm like in my home. And also, when you're at a friend's house, you don't want to just devour all their food in their house, so it wasn't like my house where I just sit, play video games, and just snack all day. Like, it was a different circumstance. And I remember when I was leaving his house, like the day before I was leaving, I stepped on his scale and I weighed 169 pounds. It was like 169.7. I think I have a picture of it on my phone. But the reason this was so powerful to me was because I realized for the first time, I'm actually closer to my goal than I thought I was. Like, for the first time ever, let's see if I can find it. For the first time ever, here it is. 169.4. I took that picture. That was May 23rd of 2021. So this was a few weeks before my self-improvement journey. That instance, that moment, actually probably gave me the motivation to start. But it was only through being completely fed up and dissatisfied with getting rejected from the world and feeling like a failure. So that picture exemplifies me seeing the smallest bit of progress. Because basically before that, I was always fat, and I was always like 175 pounds to like 190 pounds. I fluctuated between that for like the past 5 years, and I always felt fat. But after playing a bunch of basketball, and I was probably dehydrated too, I weigh in at 169. I'm like, wait a minute. 160. I used to be 190. And randomly, I'm 169 pounds? And that motivated me to start making changes myself. I was like, okay, wait, maybe this is actually possible for me. That was probably the first instance that opened my eyes into manually changing my life. It's crazy. It's crazy how an instance like that, because I always say progress is the biggest motivator. So basically, towards the end of 2021, I start eating less calories. I was eating like 1,600 calories a day. I was tracking every food I ate in MyFitnessPal, which is just a free app. I wasn't lifting at this time, but I was playing basketball with my friends, like I said, and I kept losing weight, and I got down to like 155 pounds by the end of the summer, and I was happy, but I was still skinny fat. I didn't have abs. I didn't have any definition, and keep in mind, I'm 5'11". I was 5'11" at the time, and so I was skinny fat, and this made me frustrated, but this completely changed my life. So I talk a lot of my videos, on my educational videos, about how to go from skinny fat to defined. But dude, when I was skinny fat, I was so much happier being skinny fat than I was of being overweight and fat and feeling hopeless and feeling helpless. So at least skinny fat, while it was frustrating because I didn't cross the finish line that I wanted to cross, I didn't get the abs, the ripped physique that I have now, I was still happier than I was at the beginning. And I think the fact that I lost the weight in the first place motivated me to go after another goal. Because after I lost the weight, I was like, okay, let's cross this finish line. Let's see how far we can really take this. Let's get in exceptional shape. Like what needs to be done? So I tried a bunch of different things, like eating more protein, or eating healthier foods, or just switching up what I was eating, getting more cardio in, lifting weights. And eventually I developed, a formula, or like a daily routine of what actually works. And eventually, from September 2021 to November 2020, I got ripped. Like, I got lean. Like, I got abs. I got veins. I got real defined. And it was so sick how fast my life changed, and it just kept compounding. By December 2021, I was leaner and I had more muscle. January, February, March, getting more muscle, and then in March of 2021, I started increasing my calories because I wasn't really making much progress, and I wasn't getting more shredded, even though I was eating low calories. So I increased my calories up to like maintenance, which caused me to see even more progress, and everything was going great. And then it's like, my 18th birthday, May 5th, 2022, and this year is just going great. Like, my first ever year being in shape. Like, compare May 5th, 2022 to May 5th, 2021, my life is completely different. And this was like the first year of self-development for me, truly. And so after my 18th birthday, I graduate high school, and I spend this time just playing a lot of, just having a lot of recreation with my friends. Like, we went to a lot of parties. We went to, and these were all in my hometown. I didn't have any friends still at my hometown. But the interesting thing was, what I noticed while being in the new town that I entered going into high school, was the people who used to bully me slowly started respecting me as I started to develop, which was so weird because they used to like ridicule me and hate on me and like tear me apart, and they used to throw basketballs at me, and they used to like just relentlessly make fun of me and make me hate myself. And I would get so angry, and like they made me want to fight them, and they'd make me want to start crying. Like, I just felt so distraught. And then towards the end of senior year, where I'm actually lean, I'm gaining muscle, like I'm making it happen, they started like respecting me. Like, not in a way where they start like asking me to hang out, but they just like stopped making fun of me as much. And that was like huge for me. But anyways, I graduate high school. I was so happy to be done. And now this is like a cool kind of like chill period, because it's because first of all, I had my high school graduation party, which probably I had like $4,000 in my bank account. I got into college, in this college near my hometown. So I had this period of like, I don't really need to work, and I kind of can just have fun until college. So we're going to parties, we're hanging out with a bunch of random people, and this was like a blast. Like, this was a great time. It was very fun, and I was in shape too. Like, I was reaping the fruits of my labor. And then I got my first girlfriend in July, like mid-July 2022. And I talked about this in another one of these videos, where it was truly like a perfect situation. Like, this was the girl who I had a crush on since middle school. It was the first girl who ever had a crush on me, but I had a crush on her after I found out she liked me, like randomly. Like in 8th grade, she was like, Dan, did you know I used to like you? And I never knew that, and I always thought she was out of my league. But then, because she said that, I started liking her, and then I moved, and then I never saw her until I graduated high school, and we met up at some little like vacation thing. My friend group and her friend group arranged they were staying in Maine, and then we visited, and then we met there, and then we started a relationship. And it completely changed my life, because this was something that I had never experienced before as a man. So I got in shape. I accomplished my first ever fitness milestone, which was to get the abs and to get real fit, and to develop the habit of going to the gym, develop the habit of eating healthy and just feeling good all the time in my own skin, like physically feeling good. But this was different, because this was the first time in my life where I felt responsible for another human. One, because I'm a man and I want to protect the women around me. And two, because it was the first time I ever felt liked, which is so interesting. It's like the first time I ever was like, wait, this person just likes me for me. And so it was a completely life-changing experience. And eventually, like, we had some fights and whatnot, and eventually I ended up breaking it off with her, and then starting Better Lifestyle 365, which is the business I have now. But it was such a life-changing experience. And then we get into my 19th birthday, so May 5th, 2023, and this was a period where the business really started to take off in terms of social media growth, where this was probably about 6 months after I broke up with my girlfriend, where my friends, so where I started posting a bit more on my social media, and I only had like 30 followers at the time, but my friends started like giving me good feedback for the videos I was posting. So I started posting more. Like, it motivated me to start posting more, because they were like finding value. They were implementing the tactics into their life, because at this point they view me as like the fitness guy, or like the fit friend, right? The muscular friend. And so they're implementing the tactics I give. They're listening to my advice, and I'm like, cool, I'm actually, making changes. Like, they're actually giving me good feedback. They're giving me positive reinforcement. I'm going to keep making these videos. So I kept making the videos, and then eventually I start gaining, like, traction and positive feedback from other people, like from random people. Like I would start popping up on people's social media, like Instagram Reels or whatnot. And this was so cool because I never experienced that before. And slowly over time, I started gaining some followers. Like I got up to like 80 followers, then 100, then 200, 300, 1,000, whatnot. And what's funny is as I'm growing my page, the same people who used to bully me in in high school, they actually made a burner account, like a fake account, and they messaged me maybe when I had like 30 followers or so, and they were just making fun of me, like just randomly. They make a fake account, and this was after I graduated high school. I haven't talked to basically any of the kids from high school at this point because I just hated the experience, but they made a burner account and they just started making fun of me. Like, bro, what are you doing? Why are you posting on social media? You have no clients. Get a grip. You're broke. What are you doing? This is embarrassing. Stop showing off your body. You're not even that fit. You're not even that strong. You can't even bench 315. A bunch of these just random hatred, like genuinely random hatred. And it's so funny because now I am where I am now. But anyways, going back into like the fall of 2022 or 2023, where I'm growing the social media, I just was posting relentlessly 4 times a day, every single day. And I hired a mentor who really helped me lay the foundation for my business. And I have to tell you, mentorship is the most valuable thing I have ever learned. It is truly the closest thing we have to a time machine in real life, because you get to just learn from other people's years and years of experience. For instance, like, my mentor has been doing online fitness coaching for 20 years. And I paid him $10,000 to save myself 20 years of successes and failures. You know how insanely valuable that is? It's like unreal. But anyways, that mentor and that program really helped lay the foundation of my business. I post relentlessly. I ended 2023 with about 25,000 followers. And this is where things started to slow down and things started to get really frustrating, because each night I made a non-negotiable to post 4 times a day every single day. But I went through a period where I wasn't really seeing any results from it, where I went from like 25,000 followers to like 24,000 followers. I was losing followers after months and months of gaining like 100 followers a day. And I was pissed, but I made it a habit I made it a non-negotiable to post every single day. So I kept doing that. And randomly, and this was like 2 months of losing followers every day, getting only like 2,000 views or so on my videos, when before I would get like, I got videos in the millions, hundreds of thousands, and things were going great. And then things just like stopped completely, and I was like so pissed. And I just kept posting. I just didn't stop. I just kept posting despite, like stopping posting wasn't even like a thought that crossed my mind. I was like, I have to post every single day. This is the only way. Showing up every single day, consistency, it's the only way. I have to keep showing up. And eventually, one random day in February, I post a video, it gets 10 million views. Completely sparks a massive tsunami of account momentum. And I just rode the wave. I just kept posting 4 times a day, reviewing, looking back on what worked, doubling down on that, making more videos like that. Like, I just kept, like, I was relentless. And I just kept going. I was up to like some nights like 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning, because I was like, I have to post 4 videos a day. And it was hard. Like, initially you may think, oh, posting 4 videos is not that big of a deal. But when you've posted like 1,000 videos, coming up with 4 new video ideas every single day is so hard. And maybe people can't perceive this because they haven't ever done anything like this, but like, you may think, oh, posting 4 videos a day is cool. Like, I'll post 4 videos today, and then tomorrow it gets a little bit harder. And then the third day you're like, oh, dang, how am I going to come up with 4 new video ideas? Like, imagine doing that for 10 months straight, right? It's like, it's really hard to do that. And when you make it like I convinced myself that my success was riding on me posting 4 times a day. Like I just made it such a non-negotiable. The thought of not posting wasn't even like a thought in my head. But anyways, one video gets 10 million views, completely sparks account momentum, and I just kept posting. By my 20th birthday, May 5th, I had like 75,000 followers. By the end of May, I had about 100,000 followers. Midway through June, my account has already accumulated like 40 million views. I'm like at 150,000 followers. Things were just going crazy. Then I buzzed my head. Then I started doing a bit of kickboxing. And then I went through something that was really difficult. Because what had happened was I, for the longest time, wanted to do kickboxing. It was a thought that kept showing up in my head. It was like, I want to do kickboxing. I don't feel confident defending myself. Like, I feel like if someone tries to pick a fight with me, I'm going to get embarrassed. I'm not going to be able to defend myself. I've never been in a fight before. I don't know what I'm doing. So but I kept telling myself, I was like, no, let me just focus on the business. Let me get the business successful, and then I'll start doing kickboxing. And I kept doing it for so long, but the business wasn't growing, and I was like, screw it, let's just do kickboxing. And I did it, and it was so scary because you know what you're getting into. You know you're going to do that, and for the first few weeks, first few months, it's just you getting punched in the face. It's just you getting punched in the face. You're not good at it, even remotely. You may think, oh, when I get angry, I'm just going to see red. Okay, go up against a guy who's been fighting for years, right? Confidence comes from competence. You feel confident when you've been through something time after time after time. So if you think you're just going to have no fighting experience whatsoever and start fighting this dude who's been fighting for years and through pure willpower, you're going to beat him? No, you're gonna swing for 30 seconds, you're gonna get gassed, and he's gonna kick your butt. I never had this perspective though. I'm just saying, I knew what I was getting into. I knew I was just going to get in there and get punched in the face a bunch of times. And so I'm getting punched in the face, I'm getting a little bit better, and then the most devastating thing happens to me. I'm sparring with this dude. I'm like moving my head, or like doing what I think I need to do, like moving my head the way I think I need to, and I twist in like this as he throws a kick, and it hits me right in this nose and breaks my nose. My nose was crooked. It still is crooked, actually. And I started crying. And it wasn't because it hurt. It was because I was like, why? Why me? I didn't even want to do this kickboxing in the first place. I just wanted to focus on my business. Now I'm going to have to deal with going to the hospital. Now I'm going to have to deal with potential surgery. Now I can't breathe out of my left nostril. And it's just such a random, I'm like, why me? And so that night I went to the hospital, and they basically said, look, we're going to need to do surgery on this. And this was so scary because a few years back, I had a major anxiety attack when I was supposed to get my blood drawn. Back in 2022, I was going to the hospital for something wrong with like my intestines or my colon, and they needed to test my blood, and they put the IV in my arm, and I just had an anxiety attack. I started hearing the ringing in my ears. I started feeling nauseous. I started sweating, and then I just saw my vision slowly get darker and darker, and I was about to pass out. And so the fact that they were going to put an IV in my arm and have to do surgery and put me under just scared the crap out of me. And, you know, I went into the surgery, and it was like the best experience of my life. I just kept hearing God in my head saying, I'm with you, Daniel. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. It's okay. I'm with you. And I just had the mindset. I was like, okay, if I die, I die. I'm with God. Like, that was it. And this is coming from somebody who dealt with so much anxiety, because in the initial parts of my fitness journey, remember when I was talking about how I was trying a bunch of new things after I started making a bit of progress with my weight loss? One of those things was getting in the gym, and I was like, it felt like I was ripping out roots of temptations and sin and vices I had in me. Like, like, I was so used to just playing video games. Like, yeah, maybe I'd play some basketball, but I would just do it for fun. And you know, I would stick to my diet, but I was just always in my room. So the fact that I had to go to the gym, push myself, get uncomfortable, delay gratification would make me so anxious that I would go to the bathroom almost every single workout and have an anxiety attack in the bathroom stall. And this plagued me workout after workout after workout until I didn't. And the only thing that got me out of this crippling anxiety was the mindset that if I die, I die. I'm gonna be myself. If I die, I die. I'm gonna do what I want to do, and if I die, I die. It was just being at peace with death that transformed my mindset regarding the anxiety, and that got rid of my anxiety. It's just like, if I die, I die. Because I think it was the it was just the fear of death that really made me anxious. So once I became at peace with death, I stopped feeling anxious. So anyways, fast forward to getting my surgery, I wasn't anxious because I felt God with me, and I had the perspective of, if I die, I die. And it was crazy because I remember when they were putting the IV in my arm, I was like waiting for it. I was like, any second now, I'm gonna start hearing the ringing in my ears. I'm gonna start watching my vision get darker and darker, and I'm gonna start getting sweating, and it just never happened. They put the IV in my arm. I slowly lost consciousness. I woke up in the hospital with my nose fixed. And I did probably one of the most courageous things I've ever done, which was going back to kickboxing afterwards. Because the surgery was brutal in terms of like what led up to the surgery and the emotions I was having leading up to the surgery. It was like my biggest fear. So the idea that I was gonna go back to the thing that put me through that hard time was something I didn't want to do, but I did it anyways because I knew I had to. So I went back to kickboxing after a few weeks of rehab, and it's just, you know, it really taught me a lot. That whole experience really taught me a lot. Anyways, time's progressing. The business is still growing. We get to like September 2024. I have the best month of my business thus far. I signed a bunch of clients. A bunch of them ended up getting some sick results with me. And then it started to taper off a little bit. I started losing the routine a bit, started losing the habits. I started getting confused because I kept listening and taking advice from like a bunch of different people at once. So I was kind of like one foot in, one foot out with like a bunch of different business coaches' advice. And eventually in December 2024, so this past December, my life completely changed, where I was in this place where my business was completely stalled. I wasn't making any progress, and I was actually declining. Like month after month, it was getting worse. And one of my old friends reached out to me, who I met through this. We had like the same amount of followers. He reached out to me and he's like, hey, my business has been doing really good. I'm doing a bit of business coaching and I really feel like I can help you. And I'm like, dude, I have no money. Like I can't afford any sort of business mentoring, business coaching. And then he's like, oh, it's okay, bro. Do you mind if we just hop on a call just so I can like learn more about my market? Because this is like the first time I'm going into business coaching. I'm like, sure. So we hop on the phone and he's like, how about this? How about I mentor you for free, and if you get your best month thus far, then you give me a certain amount of money. It was like $2,000 or something. I was like, cool, let's do it. Completely changed my life, because not only did I have a new mentor at this time, but I also started a college internship where I was working 40, 50 hours a week. And this was probably the hardest I've ever worked in my life. Running my business, which I was doing before, working with a new mentor who's giving me so many different tasks that I previously wasn't doing. And on top of that, half of my day is cut out and dedicated towards this college internship. But I still got everything done. And it completely changed my life, because it really, through brute discomfort, getting so uncomfortable, I still made it happen. And I still was getting in the gym, I was still sticking to my diet, I was still getting leaner. Completely changed my life, that whole experience. And now, that has led to record months in March and April, passing the milestones I wanted to pass since I started this business, the first milestones I want to pass, and we're only getting better. This month I took a little bit of a step back just to invest more in the business. I re-upped with the mentor, which was another $5K, and I hired my first ever employee to help with some of the back end things so I can focus more on my clients and creating content. And so, sometimes you have to take a step back to take a few steps forward, but overall, things are going in a completely different direction. And just a few years ago, I had no direction. I was out of shape. I had no belief in my ability to accomplish my goals. I was desperate for love, desperate for friends. I was angry at myself from running from the self-development and having to endure the disrespect and the hatred people would target or concentrate towards me. And overall, I was just distraught. And now, I've manually shaped my life. I've overcome so many struggles, so many trials and tribulations, and I'm living the life of my dreams, and it's only going to keep getting better. Because like I said, as successful as I feel, I am just as dissatisfied, and know I can do more, and know I will do more. So I hope this video can help some people relate, because I just walked you through what feels like the most impactful years of my life, by far. You take the first 16 and a half years of my life, it was just me, growing up, going with the flow, short-term gratification, video games, friends, fun. The past 4 years have been purpose-driven, have been effort, have been hard work, have been breaking bad habits and replacing them with good habits, have been removing myself from my comfort zone and expanding my comfort zone. And it's been painful, but it's been worth it, because there's a difference between liking the life you have and loving it. If you like your life, I can guess that you probably just have a lot of fun. You go to parties, you live for the weekends. But me loving my life, although in the more moments it is more painful, it's more painful to go to the gym when I don't want to. It's more painful to stick to my diet when I don't want to. It's more painful to do work when I want to go hang out with my friends. It's more painful to take calls with people who are rude to me when I'm just there trying to help. But I love everything about it, because this is what gives me fulfillment. And although it's in human nature to complain about these things, like, oh, I had a call where I was trying to help this guy and he was rude to me. Although I can complain about that, the alternative is me being somebody who people don't even want help from, or who people don't even want to hop on the phone with. So have that perspective. One is that any single time you find yourself complaining about something, think about what another alternative would be, and I guarantee you'll be grateful for what you have. But overall, this journey has just completely transformed my life, and I highly recommend, if you're unsatisfied with your current situation, to start self-improving and just go with your gut, man. Don't overthink it. Most of the time, you know where to start. You may not know what step 3, 4, and 5 are, but as long as you have a gut feeling of what step 1 and step 2 looks like on your self-development journey, start with that, and the path will illuminate itself as you walk it. But God is always testing you, and in order to unlock steps 3, 4, and 5, you're going to have to at least show God that you're ready for steps 3, 4, and 5. And you do that by passing the test. And the test being, go with your gut for step 1, 2. Because this journey is extremely uncertain. If you're feeling uncertain on this journey, if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling stuck, you're doing it right. So don't think those are signs that it's not meant for you. Those are monsters every single person has to face. Every single person. So Every single video I post, I put a Calendly link in the description where you can book a call with me one-on-one, and I can build you a long-term game plan to actually transform your physique, and through that transform your mindset, your habits, and your routine. So if you want to work with me one-on-one, we can chat there, but I look forward to see where I'm going, and I will document my journey as I continue it. And I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at BetterLifestyle365. If you don't, it's okay. I always appreciate you guys liking the video and subscribing and whatnot, but that's enough from me. I've been talking for a while, and I just hope there's somebody out there that this video really resonated with, where somebody said, you know what, I feel exactly like how you used to feel, and through this video, I now believe that I can get to where you are now, because I lived the life that I used to say would make me happy, and I am happy. Like I said, I'm not done, but I am happy. So I hope this can inspire at least one person to change. I love you guys. Peace out.